Let's do a checkup of the present simple tense. We'll take a look at the affirmative, negative, and question forms. Let's get started. Let's start with the first checkup. In this checkup, I want you to focus on the be verbs. Remember, be verbs in the present simple tense can be is, am, or are. Take a look at the first sentence. It says, she blank at school. The subject of this sentence is she. What be verb do we use for she? The correct answer is. Now, if you were thinking of the negative, the correct answer would be she isn't or she is not. That's correct as well. And if we want to use a contraction for she is, we can say she's at school. For the next one, it says they blank 20 years old. The subject of this sentence is they. What be verb do we use for they? The correct answer is are. For the negative, you can also use aren't or are not. Also, if you want to use the contraction for they are, you can say they're 20 years old. The next sentence says, his father blank busy. The subject of this sentence is his father. What subject pronoun do we use for his father? The correct answer is he. Remember, for he, she, it, the be verb is. For the negative, we can say isn't or is not. And for a contraction for father and is, we can say his father's busy. Now, I want you to try to find the mistakes in this sentence. We isn't good friends. Did you find the mistake? This is the mistake. The subject is we, and the be verb is are. Therefore, the correct answer is we are not, or the contraction we aren't good friends. The next sentence, can you find the mistake? Are John a teacher? Think about the subject of this sentence. The subject is John. And John, the subject pronoun, is he. Therefore, we don't use are, we use is. Is John a teacher? Is John a teacher? And finally, it am a puppy. This one is a big mistake. The subject here is it. What be verb do we use for it? The correct answer is. So we don't say it am a puppy, we say it is a puppy. Great job, guys. Let's move on to the next checkup. For the next checkup, I want you to think of some other verbs in the present simple tense. Take a look at the first sentence. He blank. I want you to think of the verb like his dinner. What do we do to the verb when the subject is he, she, or it? Remember, we add an S. He likes his dinner. For the negative, you can also say he doesn't like his dinner. The next sentence says, my students blank. I want you to think of need books. What is the subject pronoun for my students? The correct answer is they. If the subject is I, you, we, or they in the present simple tense, we don't change the verb. We keep it as is. So the correct answer is, my students need books. Now for the negative, you can say, my students don't need books. The next sentence says, I blank, think of the verb live, in London. What do we do here? Again, the subject is I. Therefore, we don't change the verb. The correct answer is, I live in London. What's the negative? I don't live in London. For the next part, I would like for you to try to find the mistake in the sentence. He doesn't likes math. What's the error here? Well, this is a negative. He doesn't. That's correct. However, we do not add an S when we have doesn't in front of it. Do he eat candy? Here we have a question. The subject of this sentence is he. For he, she, it, when we're making a sentence in the present simple tense, we use does, not do. So the correct answer is, does he eat candy? And finally, Sam is play computer games. There are two present simple verbs here, and we can't have that. So the correct way to fix this sentence is to get rid of the is, so take that out, and say, Sam plays computer games. Add an S because the subject is Sam, which is a he. Great job! Let's move on to the next practice. For this next practice, we're taking a look at routines. Remember, the present simple tense can be used to describe events that happen regularly. Let's take a look at the first sentence. We blank the bus every day, and I want you to use the verb take. Here we see the clue word every day, which shows that this is a routine. The subject of this sentence is we. In the present simple tense, remember, if the subject is I, you, we, or they, we do not change the verb. Therefore, the correct answer is we take the bus every day. In the second sentence, it says he blank to school every morning. Again, a routine. The subject here is he. What do we do if the subject is he, she, or it? We add S or ES to the verb. In this example, the verb is go. So we have to add ES. He goes to school every morning. In the next sentence, it says Lizzie not play, in parentheses, tennis. Here, I want you to think about the negative form. Lizzie is a she. The subject pronoun is she. So what do we do for the negative? We say does not, or the contraction doesn't play tennis. We do not add an S or ES to the end of the verb. Instead, we say doesn't or does not. Now, I want you to find the mistake in the next sentence. They watches TV at night. Can you figure out what's wrong with this sentence? The subject is they. Therefore, remember, we do not change the verb. We say watch. They watch TV at night. In the next sentence or question, it says, does he plays soccer every week? The subject of this sentence is he. To make a sentence, putting does at the beginning is okay. However, we don't put an S at the end of play. Therefore, the correct answer is to simply say, does he play soccer every week? And finally, he always forgets his book. In this case, the subject is he. Remember again, for he, she, it, we add S or ES to the end of the verb. What's the verb in the sentence? It's forget. Therefore, we have to say, he always forgets his book. Great job. Let's move on to the next practice. In this checkup, we'll take a look at how the present simple tense can be used to describe future events. Take a look at the first sentence. It says the airplane blank tonight, and we're looking at the verb leave. What is the subject of this sentence? The correct answer is airplane. What subject pronoun do we use for airplane? It's it. Remember, in the present simple tense for he, she, it, we add an S or ES to the verb. The verb here is leave, so we simply add an S. The correct answer is, the airplane leaves tonight. In the second sentence, it says, does the movie blink soon? And we're using the verb start. What is the subject of this sentence? It's movie. And what subject pronoun do we use for movie? It's it. So it's like saying, does it blink soon? Well, this is a question. So we already have the correct word in the front, does. For he, she, it, when we're asking a question, we use does. Now, all we have to do is use the same verb in its base form. So, does the movie start soon? We do not add an S or ES here. Finally, it says, Vicky blink tomorrow. The subject of this sentence is Vicky. Vicky is a girl, so the subject pronoun is she. You'll remember now that in this case, we put works. W-O-R-K-S. Works. Vicky works tomorrow. Now, let's find the mistakes in the sentence below. He do leave at 3:30 p.m. Actually, there's only one mistake. Can you find it? He do leave at 3:30 p.m. We do not need the do here. We only use do in a question or in the negative form. But also the subject is he, so we would use does. Either way, we don't need this here. Well, now we have the verb leave with the subject he. Do you know what to do? We simply change this to leaves, just like we did in the first sentence. He leaves at 3:30 p.m. In the next sentence, they don't start school today. We have a negative sentence. They don't. That's correct. Do not is correct for subject pronoun they. However, in the negative form, we don't have to change the main verb at all. Therefore, all we will do is say, they don't start school today. No S. Finally, does we eat at noon? Take a look. What is the subject or subject pronoun in this sentence? The correct answer is we. Think about the question form. Do we say do or does in the question form for the subject pronoun we? The correct answer is do. We say do. So the correct way to say this sentence or question is, do we eat at noon? Great job, guys. You're done with the practice. Thank you for your hard work. Let's move on. Good job, guys. You put in a lot of practice today. The present simple tense is not easy, and I'm really happy to see how hard you guys worked on mastering it. Be sure to check out my other videos, and thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Bye.